CM Punk's debut and first feud are now set, but he still hasn't formally signed a contract, so the flight risk is very much still real. A number of different potential feuds and storylines have been pitched at CM Punk over the months of ongoing negotiations that he has had with AEW. We've discussed that a little bit here when we talk about CM Punk basically discussing with WWE and with AEW to try and tease them both into making the better offer. A lot of this was down to storyline, and for example, CM Punk was briefly trying to angle to get a championship reign within the first year. Some of this he was interested in, most of which he wasn't. The big difficulty has been in nailing down CM Punk to say, I want to do this. AEW have been trying to avoid putting the cart before the horse and putting the AEW championship on him, but Punk has certainly been angling for that offering. Apparently the storyline and first opponent that has really captured his attention is Darby Allin. This likely isn't a huge shock to people, as AEW have been heavily hinting at this one for a while. In fact, it seems almost too convenient that a report on CM Punk signing with AEW suddenly appeared just as AEW was set to announce a major show in Chicago that might well feature one chick magnet Punk himself. They did not book the United Center this week. This was already planned. Just so everyone's clear about that. Punk signing, or in this case not yet formally signing, is not public knowledge within AEW. That said, the phrase open secret has been passed around heavily in the last week or so. Those making CM Punk references on AEW television are largely doing it for the sake of making references and to get people talking about them. AEW and all talent therein are all very good at creating a buzz after all. This is particularly true if you heard Miro's recent assertion about how double-jointed his wife was. Having announced the show at the United Center, AEW Rampage Chicago 2021, which for any creators out there is the branding you want to use, AEW Rampage Chicago 2021 is the key phrase, is going to be the big one. August 20th, a month before Body Slam's reported debut of Daniel Bryan as well, could be AEW's biggest show ever. The news of CM Punk potentially signing alone has held on to that million plus viewership for AEW Dynamite for several weeks in a row now, because people keep expecting him to turn up and they are tuning in. If CM Punk doesn't turn up now, there will be hell to pay. Tony Khan has disappointed fans before, but even he surely will get this signature. Around 10,000 tickets have already been sold at time of writing, which was yesterday, and those fans have expectations. Khan, at this point, has a clear plan. He needs to get that signature, and then we can all move on with our lives. Will this signing be enough to close the gap though? Has Daniel Bryan formally signed a contract? Keep an eye on these channels for more as it develops, both on YouTube and of course on Twitch for spoiler warning. Did a little plug there at the end, I don't know if you guys spotted it, it was so subtle. Brandon says, do you think AJ Styles would ever go to AEW before he retires from wrestling? I don't believe he will. I do believe his current contract will be Styles' last contract. That said, I promise you the discussions have already taken place and some money has been offered to him to go to AEW and see out his career there as a veteran and something of a coach as well. And Nick says, why does Punk want to go to minor league AEW? Does he just want to spike WWE? Essentially, by the sounds of it, he does want to spike WWE, but he also just wants to wrestle. It's still possible, of course, that he pulls out at the last minute. If there's one thing we know, it's that CM Punk is an expert at pulling out. Wow, that is low. I'm ashamed. Not really. Dylan says India wrestling is pretty great too. Cardona and Gage was fucking insanity. You're not wrong there. Pizza cutters, am I right? Mike says, Tom, how do you think Punk and Bryan coming in affects Hangman Page? I think it affects him in a really big way. CM Punk is not going to be out of the main event scene for years to come. I think his entire career he'll spend in the main event scene with AEW because he will have been promised that. Daniel Bryan is someone that no matter what, you're going to get a great match. So you're always going to be tempted to throw Kenny Omega versus Daniel Bryan. Always, at all times. Hangman Page has already been pulled from the all-out main event, so it's already affected him. There's a worry here for me personally that the Hangman Page storyline is going to go the way as the Sasha Banks and Bayley storyline, in that it just takes too long, and by the time they get round to it, no one really cares. I hope not, but that is a genuine possibility, not a genuine possibility. Kuro says, does CM Punk go to AEW and his wife goes to WWE? No, because something feels strained with those two about that. I don't know where you're getting that from, Kuro. That's their personal relationship, so I will not be commenting on that. I don't believe we're ever going to see AJ Lee back in the WWE, and I think a large part of the reason for that is because the fans, whenever AJ Lee walks down, it would be a case of CM Punk, CM Punk, CM Punk, while AJ Lee is wrestling. It's not fair on her, and that's what would happen.